Hello, 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 hello. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Tell me if you hear me in the room. Tell me if you hear me in the room. I'm going to get this started. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. This is Coach Ivy coming to you with another video. We're going to be discussing some serious stuff today. Okay? Some serious stuff. Awesome. You hear me? Thank you, Linizen. So, yes, we're going to definitely get started. And while we get started, we're going to wait for a few people to come in the room. I'm going to do a little maintenance like I always do. We do maintenance in this room. We make sure that people understand how to reach me. There's so many different ways. Thank you for coming in the room. There's so many different ways for you to reach me. And if you see all of my handles here on the bottom, don't be afraid to find me. Find me. Find me. I'm on almost every single social media platform. I even have a codependency support group on Facebook. Subscribe, get in, come and enjoy some of these videos that I have going up, and then reach, you get constant content. You want constant content so I can show you the funny side of myself. I have funny clips going on my YouTube page now, and I'm doing a lot of little funny things, trying to express how codependency look in the real world. So guess what, people? We have a story today to share. And today I want to discuss breadcrumbing. What is breadcrumbing? Before I get into breadcrumbing, let me say this. This is very important. Why I want to say this. We are all little children on the inside. Part of where that codependency and narcissism come from, it comes from our inner child wounds. So we are all little grown babies living in the world. We're all little grown babies living in the world, going about life, right? And part of our emotions and how we see the world when we're triggered, right? When we're in toxic relationships, when we're having issues with family, how we see the world through that emotions stems from the inner child wound, stems from what happened when we were children. So we're all little grown babies at the end of the day, little grown babies, right? So that is the reason why I want to have this talk with us today. Because when we understand where that core is, how it works, where that mechanism is and how it works, we can understand how we perceive the world, and we can act on how people see us, right? We can approach things differently, have a different perspective in the world. And that's very, very important. So when I thought about breadcrumbing, I said, I want to approach this differently. Why did I want to approach this differently? I wanted to approach it from the inner child. Why? Because some of the greatest stories of our time were found in children books. See, people don't know that. Some of the biggest lessons that you would need to know, how to go out into the world and move in the world, and where we would find people who hurt us, the triggers, when we grow up, some of the things that we could have avoided is if we paid attention to the inner lining of those children's stories, right? And because we're all still very grown little kids on the inside, I wanted to express a story that most of y'all should know about, which was founded in psychology, is another way to describe breadcrumbing. So where did it come from? I'm going to share my screen with you guys. First, let me get everything up and set up, because I have a show for y'all today, and I really wanted to show, right? And then y'all let me know if y'all see my screen. I'm going to share it right now. Do y'all see my screen? Let me know if y'all see my screen. This is the story, yes or no? This is the story about Hansel and Gretel. This is a very important story. Why is it very important story? Because it's going to tell us something. It's going to tell us a story that we all need to know. And how breadcrumbing works in our lives. And we're going to break down the intricate details of this story as codependents, right? And in the broken children, and how we can, with this story being a guideline for us, how can we, right, avoid certain things in our lives, and how a story can tell us how the inner child works, right? Now, I'm going to read a little bit of it, and then we're going to stop and we're going to discuss it, right? So, the first part of this story, Hansel and Gretel are the young children of poor woodcutters. When a great famine settled over the land, the woodcutter's second wife decides to take the children into the woods and leave them there to fend for themselves, so that she and her husband do not have to starve to death, as the children were too much. Think about that for a second. Think about the inner child and how that works. Some of us have very similar situations, not being sent into the woods, but rather some of us started out just like this, started out with a story of abandonment. Some of us started out, right, as the story, someone decided that they couldn't take care of us, decided that they wasn't going to treat us right, decided that, yeah, Lena's in and she left them, right? Decided that some of us started the beginning of our lives, the very first beginning of our lives started with a pain to discuss, right? And these children were starting that pain. The process of their pain started here at a very young age, with abandonment. And when you think about the parents and the place that they were in their lives, right? They were presented with a decision that they had to make. And you know, when we're children, unfortunately, some of us had to get the short end of that stick, the short end of that stick to that decision that those adults made for us, right? So this is the beginning of the inner child wound. Certainly, could parents have found another way, right? Hey, Norman. But did they? You know, oh, Norman is on my Facebook page. So some of us, right? Some of us, we are in a position, right, where our inner child wound started very, very early, right? Let's go back. Let's go further in, right? The woodcutter opposed the plan, but his wife claims that maybe a stranger will take the children in and provide for them, which the woodcutter and she simply could not do. With the scheme seemingly justified, the woodcutter reluctantly is forced to submit. So think about that for a moment. Some of us had situations where a parent, right, made a decision, maybe chose another significant other after one of our other parents has passed on. And some of us, our father or our mother, who we had thought, hi Norman, I'm telling a story. I'm going to give a little narrative, and then I'm going to bring people up to share. Thank you for coming in the room. So some of us were presented with a situation, right, very early on in life, where the parent, at least one of the parents who we thought would care for us. So some of us had a mother who passed on. Some of us, as codependents, right, have had a mother who either passed on or neglected us. And some of us who could have had another person who stand in that person's place, like a stepmother, didn't do her job, failed to do her job, failed to extend that maternal instinct, right? And then we were cast out. We were put aside. We were not important at the time. This could start at very early childhood development. So they were neglected. Hansel and Gretel was put in casted out into the woods, not really by her father, but the father agreed with the stepmother and said, you know what, maybe that's a good idea, because we cannot feed these children. And some of us have lived that reality as children. Some of us, that an adult just made a really horrible decision in our lives, and it set the framework. It set the framework for the inner child wound. It set the framework, right? So let's move on. Let's go to the next page. So they are unaware that in the children's bedroom, Hansel and Gretel have overheard them. After the parents have gone to bed, Hansel sneaks out of the house and gathers many white pebbles as he can, then returns to his room, reassuring Gretel that God will not forsake them. Think about that for a minute too. Some of us had to make a decision like an adult, as little children, little broken children. We had to make a decision even as children. That's how codependency spirals up. That's even how narcissism spirals up. An adult at some point failed us, and we started to make decisions like adults. We started to think about our own emotional, physical, psychological survival, right? We felt cast out as children, and some of us had to make a decision to survive. Some of us had to make a decision to survive, right? The next day, the family walked deep into the woods, and Hansel lays a trail of white pebbles. After their parents abandon them, the children wait for the moon to rise, and then they follow the pebbles back home. They return home safely, much to the stepmother's rage. How many times as we start to grow up in life, we start to try to get back to the core of who we were, try to get back to that answer that, ask a question for that parent. Why, what's going on with me? What's going on with you? Why couldn't you take care of me? Why couldn't you do right by me? Right? We try to get back to the core of who we were. We try. Right? So some of us have been casted out as young children, young adolescents, young teenagers, young adults. And that parent did not take care of us the correct way. Right? Once again, provisions became scarce, and the mother angrily orders her husband to take the children further into the woods and leave them there to die. Hansel and Gretel attempt to gather more pebbles, but the doors were locked, and to find that it was impossible to escape. So how many times it was impossible? How many times when we tried to reach out to those people who hurt us, or reach out to those people, they made it virtually impossible for us to build that connection. They made it virtually impossible for us to get to the answer as to why they weren't the type of parents that we needed in our lives. Some of us may never get to that answer if we had parents who passed away, or if we had caretakers who didn't treat us right, and they could care less about our feelings. But this is where the core of codependency and narcissism begin, right at the core of all of that, right? At some point emotionally, we felt casted out. We felt put out. We felt like we weren't taken care the way we were supposed to have been taken care of, right? And then when we try to get back to that core, there is not an answer that is appropriate. The doors are locked. People don't want to talk about those things. They're emotionally disconnected from you. They could care less about how you feel or how you survived in the wilderness. Absolutely could care less. We struggle for those answers as we grow older, right? Would you say that cluster B and C are magnets for each other? Yes. Well, yeah. We're going to get into that. Absolutely, Norman. Well, I would say that it doesn't mean that they go out looking for that person in the world, right? I just say that when they meet each other, it's an immediate attraction. It's a pull through. It's a strong pull, right? And through what, of course, I'm sure you heard the word trauma bonding, right? So then because of that trauma bonding, it's a strong pull towards each other. So absolutely. You can meet, as a codependent, you can meet a narcissism in the same room out of 100 people. And then you would feel that connection with that narcissist and vice versa. Right? So it's not like we have something over our head that says, I am a narcissist or I am a codependent. It's something that seeps through us. As a codependent, we tend to be very attentive, and we give great fuel. We give great source of supply in terms of being attentive, being interested in the narcissistic stories. Hey, yes. Wow. You went there. You did that. Awesome. And the narcissist is like, I love how she pays attention to me. I love how she pays attention to me. That's my little quick gist. Let me get to my story. All right. So the following morning, The family treks into the woods. Hansel takes a slice of bread and leaves a trail of breadcrumbs for them to follow home. However, they are once again abandoned. They find that the birds have eaten the crumbs and they are lost in the woods. Think about that for a second. Think about how many times when you tried to get back to the core of who you was as an adult, something happened, right? You feeling great. You feeling awesome. You feeling wonderful. You're getting your life together. You're finishing that degree. You got the great job. You got the house on the hill and the car and the dogs. And then, the birds come in and swoop it all away. You know what I'm saying? The birds come and swoop it all away. Things happen. This is when our triggers begin. This is when our childhood wounds have been dormanted for very many years, right? We're trying to decipher the stories of these books and use it in an adult version because we're all still children at the core, right? But life comes in and throw you a curveball, and then it conjures up the reality that you have been casted out in the woods. You are actually here by yourself. You have to survive. Oh my goodness. And I don't have a home to go back to. I don't have a family to go back to, right? That's very important to pay attention to. After days of wandering, they follow a beautiful white bird to a clearing in the woods and discover that a large cottage built of gingerbread cookies, candy, chocolate, jellies with windows panes of sugar. Now, let me tell you how this happened, especially for a codependent. Let me tell y'all something. I'm about to get deep with y'all. Took me a minute to build it up, but here I am. You could be feeling wonderful. Yes, truly, you've been cast out into the woods. Your family hurt you, right? That's where the core of codependency began, but you got it. It's been dormant for many years. It's been dormant for many years. You've been feeling great. And then, life throws you a curveball. You feel alone in the world, right? And then all of a sudden you see something from a distance. Hold up now. What's that? What's that? Is that candy? Sometimes it's eye candy. Sometimes it's the narcissist. Okay, I'm about to break it down for y'all. Sometimes it's the narcissist. He looking real scrumptious. He looking real candy-ish. She's looking like candy. Okay, she's looking like chocolate and jellies. She looks really good. She's appealing. Okay, he's appealing. Wait a minute. That looks delicious. I need that. I've been starving for that. I have not had that. I have no substance going on in my life. I've been cast out into the wilderness alone, no family, no people to turn back to because of my inner wounds, my inner child wounds. And this looks delicious. This will fulfill me. Am I making sense? Okay. This is very important. Hungry and tired, the children begin to eat the roof of the house. When the door opens and a very old woman emerges and lures the children inside with the promise of soft beds and delicious foods. Think about that for a minute. Think about the lore. Codependents, think about the lore of the narcissist. Come on in, baby. Come on in. I got you. You ain't got to worry about nothing. I know, you feasting in, you taking it all in. And I can make you comfortable. I can make you happy. That's the love bombing stages. That's the, hey, now I can make you happy. I can take care of you like your parents never did. Rest assured, they're not even your parents, but they think they could take care of you. Is that something else? Think about that for a second. So they lure you in. They enter without realizing that their hostess is a bloodthirsty witch who built the gingerbread house to wayward children to cook, waylay children to cook and eat them. And that's exactly the narcissist at the core. It's the narcissist at the core. They invite, the setup, the trap is not just for you. The trap is for everybody. You just happen to come across it too. Okay? Everybody think the house is sweet. Everybody think that they look good, they look scrumptious, they look delicious, right? That's the trap. That's the trap to lure you in. Once they get you in, then it's a whole nother story. As no point intended right here, right? Next morning, the witch locks Hansel in an iron cage in the garden and forces Gretel into becoming a slave. Let me tell y'all something. I have to stop there for a second too. Let me tell you something. That's how quick that happened with the narcissist. They said this story said the next morning. That's how quick just the narcissists work too. They work just like that too. Lord, you went, come in, baby. I got you. Don't even worry about it. This house is for you. This is gonna be for you. I'm gonna take care of you no sooner than the next morning, the next day, the next week, 2-3 weeks into that relationship. My goodness, my goodness. They are quick, chain, lock, ready to devour you emotionally, ready to devour you. That fast. The witch feeds Hansel regularly to fatten him up, but serves Gretel nothing but crab shells. Think about that for a second. Think about how the narcissists work, right? While they fattening up somebody else, right? Getting them ready to devour them, right? Think about that. They're barely giving enough time and attention to the other one. Right? I've got to fatten this person up. This is the person I'm paying attention to. But rest assured, baby, let me tell you something. I'm going to say this. I used to watch people get in relationships with narcissists, right? While they're discarding or devaluing somebody else, right? And that person that they're love bombing on or paying all the attention to, they are intoxicated with the candy. Let's talk about that, metaphorically speaking, from the story. Intoxicated with the narcissist, intoxicated, because that love bombing is intoxicating. But there's a point to that intoxication. There's a point to that love bombing. The one they're love bombing on the most, the one they're romancing the most, the one they're giving all that attention to, that's the one they intend to devour emotionally at the time they're doing it. You're almost lucky if they're not paying you no attention. You're almost lucky if they're devaluing you and not giving you no attention and pushing you off to the side. You're quite lucky. You understand? Because the one they spend all that time to is the one that they're going to hurt the most. That's how it works. That's the one they're going to devour. That's the one they're fattening up to take down. Okay? The witch then tries to touch Hansel's finger to see how fat he became, but Hansel cleverly offers a bone he found in the cage. How many single times have we had to put them off our trail? How many times we had nothing left for them but a bone, right? How many times we had nothing for them but, oh, you done took it. Oh, listen, I don't have nothing here. Throw a bone, just leave. My goodness. My goodness. I can't take no more of this. I can't. It happens every single time. Why they got you chained and locked to destroy you emotionally. As the witch eyes were too weak to notice the deception, she is fooled into thinking Hansel is too thin to eat. After weeks of this, the witch grows impatient and decides to eat Hansel. Be he fat or lean. She didn't even care. At some point or another, it's like they don't even care your circumstance at this point. They don't care how much you're trying to find yourself within that situation, how much you're trying to survive out of that situation, how much your feelings or your emotions mean in that situation. Be it fat or not, baby, I'm going to take you down. I'm going to take you down. The time is now. The time is now. No questions asked. You can't even ask me why you attacking me right now. I'm taking you down. That's how they think. I'm taking you down. It matters none. She prepares the oven for Hansel, but decides she is hungry enough to eat Gretel too. She decides like everybody goes. She coaxes Gretel to the open oven, and asks her to lean over in front of it to see if the fire is hot enough. Gretel, sensing the witch intent, she pretends she does not understand what the witch means. Now, this is a great segue to how do we get out of these things? How do we get out of these things? Right? How do we get out? Gretel, sensing the witch intent, she pretends she doesn't understand what the witch means. She's like, I don't get it. I don't know what you mean. What? Sometimes we have to act aloof. Sometimes we got to act silly. We got to act crazy. We got to act like, I don't even know what's going on here. Listen, what? What are you saying? What do you mean? Huh? What? I don't get it. What? What do you want from me? What? This is how you start to make that. You got to start that disconnection. The stories teach us how to disconnect. The stories teach us how we're going to get involved with people like this, how it goes into story. The stories always teach us, read between the lines. The folk tales are there. Little broken children with the big hearts. The story is there. Hansel is at the point where she got to get out of this situation. She's been traumatized already by this witch who we're taking in as the perceived narcissist, right? She have to act aloof. She have to act crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. The story teaches how to get out of that. Infuriated, the witch demonstrates. The witch demonstrates. How many times have a narcissist tried to will you into a conversation to gaslight you, and you be like, what? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. They almost start to gaslight themselves. They almost start to gaslight themselves. Right? Before you know it, right? Gretel instantly shoves the witch into the oven, slams and bolts the door shut and leaves. Okay? The ungodly witch to be burned into ashes, right? Think about that. Think about that. If you're trying to relieve yourself of a narcissistic abuse, relieve yourself. Sometimes we have to shut the door. We have to lock it, shut down, block, kick them into a fire. Boot, don't kick them into a fire. I don't want, please, y'all, don't kick nobody into a fire, because I need my, don't say Ivy said to kick this person in a fire. Okay? I'm playing with y'all. But I'm saying, metaphorically speaking, you got to metaphorically kick them into the fire, shut the door, slam it, lock it. Bye. Goodbye. Let go. No more. I'm good. You burn, not me. Right? Gretel frees Hansel from the cage, and the pair discover a vase full of treasure, including precious stones. Putting the jewels into their clothing, the children set off for home. Think about that. Think about how many times after those hurtful scenarios, after those hurtful relationships, right? At the end of all of that, when we shut the door, we kick them into the fire, and we start the blocking process, and we go no contact. Think about how the jewels come. The jewels are present for us. We just don't know it, children. We don't know it. We don't know that once we start the process of just cold turkey, boot, go, get out, lock, leave alone, totally. There's jewels that are presented to us. There's jewels that are presented to us every single time to take home. And the home don't have to necessarily be the parents who hurt us as children. It don't necessarily have to be the family who hurt us as children. You know, we don't have to take those jewels home to them. We take the jewels home. The home is our soul. We take it home with us. It's a piece of us, a part of us, right? That's where that begins. That's what that metaphor means. So a swan of fairies takes them across an expanse of water, and at home they find only their father. The wife died from some unknown cause. Their father has spent all his days lamenting on the loss of children, and is delighted to see them safe and sound. With the witch wealth, they live happily ever after. Now, the part of this is very interesting. How many times did we have parents that we could go home to? How many times did our adult parents made just very bad decisions, right? Because this is also a story of forgiveness. This is also a story of forgiveness. And we had to go back as adults and present them with the jewels that we learned in the wilderness. Present them with that. Give them stories of the things that we learned, and forgive. We had to forgive. And I know it's hard. But sometimes that's exactly what it is. Now, that's the little story, people, but we're not done. Where does the terminology breadcrumbing from? Breadcrumb come from? Breadcrumbing comes actually from that story, right? Because there was a part of the story where Hansel had breadcrumbs trying to lead himself back home. But there was the metaphor to that breadcrumbing is the word hope. He had hope. He had hope. He would get back to the core of who he is. He had hope. And so when somebody breadcrumbs you have hope. Someone who breadcrumbs leads you only by dropping small morsels of interest on occasional message, phone call, date plan, social media interaction. These happen sporadically and usually don't have any follow through. Think about that for a second. Think about it. When somebody give you morsels and just morsels of breadcrumbs, what do we do? What do we do? We hold on to that. And especially codependents, listen, sometimes that's all we want. Sometimes that's all it takes. Just a little bit of something. Okay? We got to stop that as codependents, because you know what we start to do? We start to believe that that little breadcrumb is something wonderful. That's all we need. That's all we need. That is all we need. And we could go years ruminating on a narcissist. We could go years. They could call us once every 3 months and we'll be like, that's enough. We gotta put an end to that. It's very important. So what are the signs of breadcrumbing? I cited this website. You can go to it. It's very informative. Healthline.com, right? /health relationships /breadcrumbing. And I found this there because I didn't have the time to put up my own content. But what are the signs of breadcrumbing, right? What are the signs? Clear signs of breadcrumbing. They blow hot and cold, which means think about that. Think about how many times through narcissistic abuse you've dealt with a narcissist, right? You call and they give you the cold shoulder. They call, they expect to have a warm welcome. You call again, it's the pull and the push and the pull every single time. It's the hot and the cold. Sometimes they get downright blunt and say, what are you calling me for? What are you calling me for? They could get nasty. Their messages are ambiguous. What do ambiguous mean? Ambiguous means where two different messages have, but don't give a clear meaning. Something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But unclear message, right? They're very ambiguous, very mysterious. They won't really give you a full answer, a clear answer that you can work with, right? There's no substance in their communication. What do that mean? What do that mean? Well, they have no intention on getting down to the point. They have no, see, when people have been hurt by one, when somebody hurt you, abandon you, and discard you, the only kind of communication you want to know is either they say sorry or whether they're coming back. They're not going to give you that. They're not going to give you that. So what's the point in having a conversation with a narcissist if they're not going to give you that, right? They throw breadcrumbs at you through different channels. So, honey, it's so funny because 1 minute this is the killer. They won't call you for a year, but will like one of your Facebook posts. Why are we letting them do that? Huh, codependents? Why do we let them do that? They don't make you feel good about yourself. Ever. They don't make you feel good about yourself. I can't tell you how many times people said they got a narcissist who called them, right? Because you have to realize that the narcissist, they only call you, especially after the relationship is over, they only call you for narcissistic supply. So they're calling you just to toss in a little narcissistic supply, hoping that maybe you could give them some praise. So they'll call you and they'll give you little trinkets like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. My life is successful. I'm getting married soon. And when they throw you little, they for narcissistic supply. So you can say, oh, great, wonderful. You're a great person, right? Or it's sadistic supply when they call you, right? To rag on you, to make you feel horrible. So what happens after that? You don't feel good about yourself after you get off a phone with the narcissist. You feel almost raped, verbally, communicative wise. You feel dirty speaking to them. They don't have substance in the conversation. So what's the point in talking to them? There's no substance, right? Then they want to put you in a position, and this is very important. They will always try to put you in a position for a booty call. So when they discard you, guess what? They're only bringing you back into their life to put you in a position where you're second to their main supply when you used to be first. So then you're nothing more than a booty call. You're nothing more than a person they could call for supply, for narcissistic supply. Somebody that they can toss in, oh, I'm doing great right now. So that, hoping that you could feel envious of them, because most of them feel envy. They feel envy on everybody. So they're hoping that calling you, dropping a little narcissism on you every now and then will conjure up some envy for them. They want you to be envious of them. So they're doing it with ill intentions. With ill intentions. Okay? They want to make everything your fault. They want to make everything your fault. They'll start to say, you start to say, you only call me once a month. So like, this is you don't say it's breadcrumbing, but you say this, you only calling me once a month, which is breadcrumbing, right? So why do you call me? Like, oh, it's your fault. You don't call me. But we already know, starting from the number one on this top of this list, guess what? If you did call them, they would treat you like crap anyway. So why would you call them, right? They put you in a position where you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So why we do it? Why do we do it? Why do we do it? They can't commit to a date, let alone you. So when they can't, listen, I can't tell you how many people tried this. They tried to set up something with the narcissist. They want to make sure they're clear, their boundaries is clear. They want to really, sometimes they want to get to know whether the relationship can still work. And guess what? You can set that date up all you want, honey, baby. You can set it up. They won't show. Some of them will. But if they do, they come in for a narcissistic supply. They're coming up to secure you as a supply. But if they don't, I can't tell you how many times some people set up that date with that narcissist at 8 o'clock. That narcissist don't show. 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, boom. That person posted on their Facebook. They out with somebody else, but they did that purposely. They did that purposely to triangulate you. Do you hear? You see how that works? It's sick. And yet some people still will try to get another date with them. Will try to speak to them again every single time. Right? They are only interested in sex. Only interested. They have no other interest at that point. Okay? So let's go into the next one. What can you do to avoid or get over breadcrumbing? Well, that's very interesting. What can we do, people? What can we do? Some people don't even know how to begin the process of getting out of a situation. The folk tale in the beginning, the children's story told us in the beginning. If you can't stop it, let it go, cold turkey, boom, boom, boom. There's steps. There's ways to get out of breadcrumbing. There's ways to stop involving yourself with a narcissist altogether. There's ways. You have to want to do the work, though. The first thing I say is, ask yourself why. Ask yourself why you keep accepting the breadcrumbs. Ask them why you keep accepting the empty attempts, right? Why you keep accepting that to be put on a hook. That's the empty attempts to be put on a hook. Why you keep accepting that? Why? Ask yourself that. That's very important to ask yourself that, especially when you feel like you are on a hook, especially when that narcissist doesn't really solidify what their intentions are for you. They have put you in a position where you're a secondary source of supply. They put you in a position where they barely call you. They put you in a position where they call only to talk about, brag about themselves. They put you in a position where it makes you feel horrible. It makes you feel horrible. It does. So how do we get out of that? We ask ourselves, why do I do that? Why do I want to be put on that hook? Why am I accepting those little morsels and gristles of breadcrumbs every 3 or 4 months when they call? Every once in a year dates that they call and to use me. Okay? To lure me back in only to discard me each and every time. Why do I do that? Right? I usually, when people do that, see, think about this. Sometimes when a narcissist calls or you go on a date with a narcissist, codependence, this is very important. We will feel really bad afterwards, horrible, because we realize that we've been duped again. This is my suggestion. I tell people all the time, instead of call them, act like you're calling them, but put it on a voice note on your phone. Put it on a voice note. Go off. Go off. Tell them how you feel. Down every single, whatever's on your mind, express it. Don't call them. Don't send them the voice note, but express yourself on that voice note. Then I say, stop. Don't listen to it for a few days. Let it resonate with you, right? And then when you start the process of getting over that person, because each day gets better, of 3, 4, a week later, depending on how you feel, listen to it. And then remind yourself every single time when you're ready to either call that person or even pick up the phone when they call. Remind yourself, don't pick up the phone. When they call, don't pick up the phone. Instead, listen to the voice note. Remind yourself of how they treated you the last time. Remind yourself. It's important to remind yourself. And you know what? Another important part of that is to ask yourself why you choose, right? Is to listen to the words instead of their actions. Because in breadcrumbing, they give us all of these words, right? They give us these words. They tell us the things we want to hear, just morsels of them, right? But their actions show they have no real intention for us. So ask yourself, why do you choose to listen to listen to the words and not the action? Right? Why do you choose to trust the words and not trust the action? Why? They're showing you clear as day. Some of these narcissists think, especially codependents, that we're so aloof, we're so crazy, we're so slow, we're so silly that we don't see what they're doing. It's clear what they're doing. They don't realize that our heart is so invested sometimes, right? That we know what they're doing. We're just accepting what they're doing. But then they think we're slow and we don't see what they're doing. It's sickening, the disconnect. It's sickening. So why do you choose, my people, right? To trust the actions? Why? Then ask yourself, are you willing to trust instead? No, this is what I really wanted to say. Why are you ruminating? Why are you still ruminating? Because a lot of us, we will wait between, especially codependents, we will wait between the times and space when that person didn't call us. And we start to see some of these narcissists will call in a pattern. They will call maybe once a week, or every 3 months, or sometimes every 6 months, or once a year. And they will call in a specific pattern. Sometimes, especially if you was a great source of supply that they left you for, you was a great source of supply. They come back. They always come back, but they don't come back sometimes, never to be fully back into that relationship like they were the last time. Each time it's worse and worse and worse, to the point where you're just a person that they drop a line to every now and then get all hyped up and psyched up, right? Get your blood moving again. Ooh, wow, hey, blast from the past. I hope this goes somewhere this time. No, we start to and then we ruminate between the time. Some of us could count our clock to it every single time. Oh yeah, it's about 3 months. He's gonna end up calling me soon. She's gonna end up calling me soon. She's gonna end up needing something. He's gonna end up wanting to talk. Why do we do that? Right? So you want to ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? How am I feeling right now? Why are we ruminating? Why am I feeling this feeling right now? Why am I feeling that? I always had this thing where I thought I would rather hurt, and this is very important. I would rather hurt for months. Mourning some old crazy relationship, right? I would rather mourn those few months and let it go than spend several years holding on to the idea of a relationship that's not there, accepting the breadcrumbs. I'd rather hurt now. Get it over with. Just cut it, let it go. Okay? Let it go. Because I don't know about y'all, but I don't like pain. I don't like pain. I don't like pain, honey. I was one of those kids. Somebody, I would go to the doctor and they would try to shoot me with a needle, honey. And I was one of those kids who would fight the doctor. I don't like pain. I don't like pain. Okay? Me and the doctor be boxing. We be boxing. I don't like pain. So my thing is, why would I want somebody to keep inflicting pain on me? I learn. No, I'm learning here. No, I don't want your breadcrumbs. I'm not getting anything out of this. This is a learning lesson for me. No, you ain't going to hurt me again. You might fool me once or maybe even twice with that little breadcrumb. And I'll pick up your little bristles, your little morsels of your breadcrumbs. And, ooh, wow, it's crumb. Wow, he's interested, right? But you ain't going to fool me 3-4 times. No, cut it now. Let it go. We're getting nowhere here. I tell people, take the breadcrumbs and make you your own loaf of bread. Just fulfill yourself. Fulfill yourself. When they say that saying, make lemonade out of lemons or something, if I'm not, if I said it right? Hey, make bread out of breadcrumbs. I would much rather do for myself. I would much rather give myself all of the accolades, all of myself the praise. I don't need nobody's morsel of anything. I keep it. These narcissists believe that that's all you deserve. These narcissists believe that's all you want. These narcissists believe that that's all you ain't worth more than that. They truly believe that. Right? Finish that. He made a promise to you. If he made a promise to you and he didn't come through, promise yourself that promise. Some of them, sometimes you had a plan for a date. You go there. The narcissist don't show up. Guess what? That's all right. Take a picture of that food anyway. Get dressed up. Go on that date by yourself. Enjoy your life. But guess what? For those who have not made the choice to block these narcissists, maybe you need to start now. Now, I get it. Some people are out there. They have to co-parent. Some people out there, they have to really still be in touch with this narcissist. What do you do? What do you do when you have to still be in touch with this narcissist due to co-parenting? You still have to be in touch with this narcissist for whatever reason. Some people have businesses. Sometimes narcissists will come in and really get their clutches in on your life. So a lot of times we have a lot of things tied into these people, right? So it's not so easy to just stop. Some of us have that issue going on. What do we do? Well, I tell you what I do. Let me tell you. And some people need to consider that. When they start calling you, right? When they start calling you, maybe it's time for you to get a little bit ambiguous. Maybe it's time for you to get a little bit mysterious, right? They'll call you and say, what you up to? Stuff. That's how I respond, stuff. You seeing anybody? Yep. How's your family? Blessed. You know what that's called? Gray rocking. They hate it. Keep it short and sweet. One word at a time. They don't need to be involved in your life because let me tell you something, codependents. When they call us, this is the problem we have. When they call us, we tell them everything. They haven't called you in a year. Right? They call and toss a little breadcrumb, and then they want to get all in your life. And it's almost like an interrogation, but they're asking you, how's your mother? How's your father? How's your sister? How's your brother? Who you seeing? You got a date? You seeing somebody? How you feeling? How's things going for you? Oh, well, me. And then they're going to themselves. I'm doing great. My business is flourishing. I got a car. I got a house. I got a me. And then boom, and they like, yeah, I got to go click. That's exactly how those conversations go. They don't have no empathy. They could care less really what's going on with your life. So why do we allow these people to come in, start being ambiguous, start being mysterious? What, when they call you, start being a little cold shoulder. If you haven't blocked them already, but what do you want? What's going on? I haven't spoken to you in a year. Are you okay? Why are you calling me? You could have called anybody else in the world. Why are you calling me? I don't need your phone calls. I'm good. It's important. It's important. It's important. It's important. You know, I call it keep a little secret for yourself. You want to feel good? You want to feel good about really getting over a narcissist? When you have a secret for yourself, say like something really wonderful happened for you. Something really wonderful happened for you. I don't know. Maybe you found a new love. Maybe you finished that degree, right? Maybe you started that business. Maybe you got that big house that you always wanted, or you finished your weight loss journey. You did a lot of things that you had planned out, and now they're coming to fruition. This is what I want to say. They don't need to know that. They don't need to know that. They don't. And sometimes holding on to that little bit of secret, when they call, how's everything going with you? How are you feeling? What's going on? What's new with you? I'm good. I'm good. But in your heart, that secret that you held on to, you don't have to say that to them because they care less about your success. They don't need to have that. That's yours to hold on to. You understand what I'm saying? We give it to them and then we feel it's nasty. We feel nasty. We give it all to them. They know everything. For what? They didn't care this whole year. They didn't care this whole year. So why give that to them? They don't need to know all of that. You understand? It's important that we figure that out. So I challenge people. I challenge people to become mysterious, right? Become mysterious. Become a little sneaky, okay? Just become a little sneaky. They don't need to know it all. That's very important because you know what? They want to know it all. You know what happens as codependents? This is what we do. When we put ourselves in a situation when they call us, we be like, wow, they called me. I'm important. I'm important. I knew I wasn't crazy. I'm important. He values me. He values me. Do you really believe that? I'm not worthless. I'm important. That's what we think as codependents. That's what we think. But that's not what they think. That's not what they think. They don't feel that at all. It's only about supply. It's only about getting that part of you, that moment in time that they froze in their head, when they first met you, when you was giving them all of these wonderful compliments and you were so attentive to their stories and their grandiosity and their, where they've been and the people that they know and all of these great big things. And you held on to every word that they said. Wow, tell me more. Oh my goodness, that's great. Right? We held on to it. They just want that moment every single time. They tap in for it like fuel. They tap in like syrup from a tree every time. Having not spoke to you in eons, and they'll call and they'll say something, hoping you return that. Oh, wow, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you. Oh, wow, I'm happy for you. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And every time you say, oh, wow, I'm so happy for you, they fly. They fly. They fly. And you losing a piece of your wing every single time. Every single time. I mean, people realize this. Healing is a process where you have to make a full-blown committed decision about yourself to be accountable for you. It's a full-blown commitment every single day to say, I'm better than that. I'm better than that. I'm better than that. I'm better than that. I'm better than all of that. I don't deserve it. I don't need it. I don't want it. And you can't do it to me. I'm not going to allow you to do it again. And as much as it hurts, as bad as it hurts us to say no to somebody, realize this. A month or two in, he'll make you feel it's the jewel. Like in a story, it's a jewel. There's always a jewel at the end of that story. That jewel is you. Getting back to the core of who you are. That's all it is in a nutshell, right? Start telling people, keep your breadcrumbs. I'm looking for jewels. I deserve jewels. Keep your breadcrumbs. Is that too much to ask? Well, we'll figure that out, people. I'm keeping this short and sweet tonight. We've been doing 2-hour lives, and today was all about lecture time. You know why? Because now we're going to start to get to the intricate parts of healing. The intricate parts of healing, how to combat the mechanisms that we're finding in toxic relationships, understanding the early childhood inner wounds, the childhood inner wounds that put us in the position that we're in. That's what it's all about now. That's what it's all about now. So that we can avoid people like that going forward. And then value ourselves so much more, realizing that we deserve jewels. That's all I have for you tonight, people. But guess what? If anybody ever want to share, you're more than welcome to do so next week. And come on up and send me a message and subscribe and click that like button. Don't forget to click the like button. And we'll be back for another video on healing every single time. And don't forget my morning report. I do a morning report every morning, every single morning. So subscribe. Y'all want to hear it. Thank y'all for coming.